So what does it mean to weave the silk through the pearls, to thread the eye of the needle? This will be our topic today. In Homer's Odyssey, there is this metaphor that comes up of threading the eye of the needle. And this is about a ship that's sailing along the ocean, and there's a monster in the sea, or it's a monster on the rocks of the shore, one or the other. And the monster is going to eat the crew, or there's this other monster that's going to suck in a bunch of the ocean and I guess eat whatever's inside and then spit it back out. So, in one case, 6 people will die because it's a 6-headed monster. And in the other case, maybe everyone will die, but maybe not. You don't know. So you're sailing along the ocean and you have you're being pincered between these 2 awful monsters. What do they call them? I wrote them down. Charybdis and Scylla, like these 2 monsters. Now, when it comes to the experience in spiritual evolution along these paths, the monsters are you. The monsters are your habits, your conditioning, your societal attachment, your upbringing, how you've had what's right and wrong imposed on you, and on and on and on and on. The monsters are you. Everything that is part of this little identity that we call ourselves. So what is the way through this this tapestry that's being woven with the silk and the pearls, this tapestry that's being woven by threading the eye of the needle? This comes down to recognizing and realizing on a moment-by-moment basis your personal Akashic consciousness, this light of the spirit that is free from conditioning, from distortion, from illusion. From that place, distortion, illusion, conditioning, all this stuff, it auto-resolves. It's like a universal safety mechanism. Now, to exist from that place on the continuum of forever, in the space of always, this is a very difficult thing to do. That's a big part of the practice. That's why we meditate on very, very refined aspects of frequency, of reality, of release, so that we can do this as unimpeded as possible. And as we get more attuned to existing from this recognition of our personal Akashic consciousness, all the other stuff starts to auto-resolve into this space of we might say, our spirit light essence. So to realize this is to become fluid and flexible. This is often referred to like a child, right? Fluid and flexible like a child. And to remember that innocence of childhood adaptability and free flow of feeling, of an unconditioned expression and feeling and action. Now, very often, this is heard, and then the person regresses, and this is something that we want to avoid. So while this openness, this fluidity, from a moment-by-moment responsive basis, this responsive plasticity is occurring in the 3 bodies and centers and fields, in the vital, astral, and mental bodies and centers and fields, where it's coming from makes a difference. So yes, there's adaptation constantly occurring. You're constantly morphing and reforming and reshaping. And there's an evolution occurring, but this particular type of evolution has to do with the volition that this freedom is taking place in. So this initial return to childlike innocence, why it's always misunderstood is because of the motivation and the volition, right? A child's motivation is from the place of instinct. The volition is from the place of the survival as instinct. And so, yes, you have free flow of emotion, free flow of expression, freedom from conditioning, but it is inspired by survival instinct, which is very, very, very different than our alternative. the alternative to having this free fluidity of plastic change and blah, 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 is to have the inspiration come through the illumined light of the spirit, that illumined Akashic consciousness. What this does is it changes it from a survival-based responsiveness to a responsiveness that is motivated by the illumined tenderness of the heart, of compassion, that is even beyond the intuition. And so this free-flowing dance of responsiveness, of like innocent responsiveness and constant adaptability and reforming and changing and reshaping, allows us to progress through the evolution of the spirit, because it's coming from the light of the spirit, from that emptiness of the Akasha. When your motivations are from that place of compassion, of tenderheartedness, of goodwill, of joy, then the expression, that spontaneous expression, is vastly different than when these motivations come from survival instinct. We want to be very, very clear about this so that we can avoid some major pitfalls and stagnancies on the path. It's very easy to stall out in this constant excitedness of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, look at the world, oh my God, it's like a kid, I'm full of wonderment, which is great. You want to be full of wonderment, you want to be full of joy and excitement on the path. But when that's being clung to from the survival instinct and pedestalized from the survival instinct, what we get is a very tense, it's a string pulled very, very taut. And this is almost always coming from a place of fear, which is what the survival instinct is, which, makes it real hard to actually progress. So keep this in mind so that we can continue our progression in the absence of, shiny, sort of, we might say, the illusion of light, reflections of light. Okay, we want that honesty. We want to make sure we're really, really going through that evolution. So from this understanding of that childlike innocence and that fluidity that's always occurring for spontaneous and illumined adaptation and evolution, one of the common responses might be a rejecting of rigidity. And this is a very natural thing to fall into, because, okay, well, if fluidity and adaptability is good, then rigidity is bad. So what do? We've created an either or, and now we're rejecting any sense of shape and form, any sense of encapsulation that is, the forms that life takes itself. So this is always a lie, the lie of rejecting. In different traditions, let's say in the Vajrayana writings, they have the three poisons. Rejecting is a poison, accepting is a poison, and indifference is a poison. These are poisons of the mind, these doings that the mind engages in, based on separation of either or. So, and we might think, of course, fluidity is obviously the best thing. But if it is attached to as the thing that is different from rigidity, then we have an issue, because we will start to lose all sense of, and it's not even an identity thing, it has to do with orientation to truth. Your orientation and movement towards truth, unimpeded by what we've discussed, will be altered, because any resistance will be perceived as, oh, that's something that I should just accept, another poison, right? I will fluidly accept whatever is here. Accepting is also a poison, just as much as rejecting is a poison, just as much as I don't care, whatever's here, whatever, doesn't matter, doesn't affect me. This is also a poison. So the lie of rejecting rigidity is the lie of clinging to fluidity. This is a tricky one, and we want to spend a lot of time contemplating this so that we can navigate truthfully through the experience of spiritual evolution. This brings us to threading the needle as another lie, threading the eye of the needle. Now, often people look at, like, say, the dark night of the soul is something you hear about as well, the threading the eye of the needle, on and on. These terms and phrases are bandied about in self-development and spiritual communities as if they are singular experiences. Okay, now you graduated, now you're done, right? You've gone through your dark night of the soul, now you're done. And this could not be further from the truth, unless you're real special. Then yeah, maybe you have nothing and you are nothing, and that's just how you start. However, for most who are working through the path, these experiences are forever. There is no other side. The eye of the needle is always, and the thread is forever. What this comes down to is the place from which this is all being experienced. When you're experiencing this from a place of the identity being stuck in, say, the needle or in the thread, then it's this real precarious walk. You're like, walking the line, walking the razor's edge. It's very, very precarious. But when we are able to move beyond this a little bit, what happens is these experiences of compression and expansion, of the identity being compressed, of conditioning being compressed and then released, this becomes something that exists in a free-flowing space. Because of this, we are not subject to entrapment of that condensation and expansion. So this comes down to the weaving the silk through the pearls. The silk of, we could say, the light of perception that might be the silk, is being woven through the pearls of appearance. Always. So the appearance of compression, the appearance of, I'm squeezing through all my stuff and, then I'm going to break free. This is all perception. And perception, the light of perception, yes, weaving through the pearls of appearance. This would be, let's say you do a physical art like Tai Chi, or you dance or whatever. What is that? What is all art? It's taking perception and awareness, and you're really weaving that through the appearance and the shape and flow of that art. So maybe you're painting or doing calligraphy or whatever, and you have the light of awareness, and that light is moving through the appearance of, say, your arm, or let's say you're walking and you're aware as you walk, and through the movement of the legs, there's this always a spiral. That's how nature works, is in these spirals. When life is unfolding and moving, that movement of energy. So you get this very artful expression in everything. Now, what's very interesting for anyone who's done a lot of meditative practice is the deep experience of appearance. Appearance's truth, we might say, is the emptiness. Appearance is emptiness. It is that empty luminosity. So we end up weaving the light of perception through nothing, which is the appearance. So nothing, the appearance and nothingness, which are one, are perceiving the appearance and nothingness, which are, the same. So this leads to a very, very interesting exploration and interplay when it comes to these experiences of, okay, I'm going through this period of darkness. I'm having this hyper ego compression as I'm moving through the law of rhythm on this path. These dank experiences, these dark experiences, these destructive experiences, they're always like, the downside of that law of rhythm is like, okay, now that you've gone through this big period of evolution, let's illuminate the mistakes that you are making. Vroom. And you go, oh yeah, that's all the mistakes that I was making. And these can be super, super subtle, meaning they're very difficult at that point in our evolution to perceive. So we don't notice them, so they build more and more and more and more. They continue to build, and then eventually they build enough that bang, we hit the downward side of the rhythm. So we want to be aware of this, and when we do hit that downward side of the rhythm, that's the real practice of under what duress can we sustain realization of this weaving the silk through the pearls. Right? Every word that is written can be written from the place and read from the place. When you're reading a work of art, it sucks you in. It sucks that attention, that awareness, that perception into the words and starts to pull them through the appearance of the words. And this happens when you read very illumined texts from very developed practitioners. You get sucked in. Again, weaving silk through pearls. This is at the essence of the path of evolution, that spiritual experience, the path of light. We want to be very familiar with this and continue to explore it, because eventually the pearls, the appearance, the emptiness, become the silk of that light of perception. The pearls are perception, as much as they are empty appearance. The thread is appearance and emptiness, as much as it is the light of perception. And this is the dichotomy at play, the dance of duality within the non-dual infinite view, we might say. For training, please check out the website. We have courses in Hermetic Alchemy, Qigong, meditation. There is a Tai Chi program there. And of course, the Zenden, which is a Q&A video reference library. So any questions that you have, I get back to you via video there. And then for personalized meditations and transmission outside of retreats, I do offer private lessons as well. These are typically best done after doing a retreat though, so we have strong familiarity with the frequencies that we're working with. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Practice.